Professionals lack basic understanding on standardization and the role of ISO. So this course is a beginner course on everything you need to know about standardization and ISO. This course is not for lead auditors, internal auditors, personnel working in the ISO or any other standardization body. This course elevates the understanding of professionals working in the corporate sector where they interact in any part of the standardization process but do not know the background. They need to know the background of the standardization process itself, how these standards are made, what is the role of ISO, what are the role of the members in the ISO, how is the ISO organization structured, etc. etc. So in this course we have graphical elements to present the knowledge base about the standardization process and the ISO structure with the help of infographics and various information is available. So it will be good for you if you are a beginner to gain this knowledge on standardization and ISO. There are many misconceptions when it comes to the standardizations and ISO role in it. Professionals in workplaces often say that our company is an ISO certified company or our organization is ISO certified or ISO certifies our organization, etc. So, do ISO really certify an organization? For your information, ISO is not a certification body. It's not a certification body. ISO just publishes standards. The second most common misconception is standards are about documentation. Standards do have documentation, but these documentations are there to support a process. Standards tell you about the requirements of a process or a product or anything else. They give you a framework to perform a job or an activity, etc., or the specifications of a product. So this is not just about documentation. In fact, ISO 9000 version 2015, which is the latest quality management system, has reduces the earlier requirements of too many documentation like quality manual, like various procedures. They have just summarized the whole discussion as documented information and leaves it onto the organization as to how the organization will manages the requirements of a documented information in a procedure or a manual or anything else. So they have reduced the requirement of the requirement of different documentation level to just one word, that is documented information. The third misconception is that ISO 9001 is for product quality and does not relate with anything else. Well, if you see that ISO 9001 does not state any requirements for a product or its quality specifications, it is a general framework for the management system to ensure quality, to ensure customer satisfaction, and it tells you how to plan a quality process, a quality function, a planning function, a procurement function, how to plan your operations, etc. etc. And how is the management involved in the improvement of the system through management reviews, and how is the check applied on the management system through the internal audits, etc. So these are the management tools, management requirements for the system. In ISO 9001, do not talk about the quality specifications, for example, the chemical composition of a product, etc. It does not talk about the size or the dimensions of the product. So it is a management system standards. It lays the framework for the management to manage the system to ensure quality. The fourth misconception is that standards are expensive to implement. It is true that standards incur a cost for implementation, but the cost of not implementing the standard is often more expensive if you go for the standards implementation. So if you are not implementing the standard, you are not managing your processes well. And if you are not managing the processes, you are not up to the level to satisfy your customers. And when you do not satisfy your customers, you will lose them in the long run, and you will give your business to your competitor. So the cost of not implementing the standard will be you have low sales, low customer returns, etc. etc. The fifth misconception is on ISO standards do not apply to our businesses. So the about the fifth misconception that if we talk about ISO 9001, which is a quality management system standard, it applies to any organization, any organization. So for example, it applies to the service sectors, manufacturing sectors, even the NGOs have implemented the standard requirements to improve their business processes. The sixth misconception is about that the implementation of a standard is a quality department job. It is a very displeasing misconception as it uh, put the burden of implementing the standard on quality department. In fact, the standard define requirements for every role, every function of an organization, whether it is purchasing, whether it is operations, whether it is marketing or sales. So everyone is involved in meeting the customer satisfaction. All the organization functions are meant to satisfy the customers. So this standards tells you how to manage the customer satisfaction, how to manage the quality of the system to meet the customer expectations. So these are some of the misconceptions that are common and widespread. So we have discussed it in detail, and we hope that it is now clear for you that ISO does not certify an organization. Standards are not just about documentations. ISO 9001 is not for product quality. Standards are not expensive, rather cost of not implementing the standard will be more expensive. ISO standards apply to ISO 9001 applies to any business. Implementing standard is everyone's job. What is a standard? How we define a standard? I give you three-word definition of a standard, which is agreed way to do. So, to do what? To do what can be about making a product, managing a process, delivering a service, supplying a material. So the standard can be about all four possibilities. So some of the popular management system standards are the ISO 9001, which is Quality Management System Standard, ISO 14001, Environment Management System Standard, ISO 45001, Occupational Health and Safety Management System Standard. When there is an agreed way to do, we can facilitate trade. We can provide a framework for achieving economies, efficiencies, and interoperability. When there is an agreed way to do, and when the consumer know that ABC product has been manufactured from the agreed manufacturing process, so they will feel protected and they have the confidence on the product. So this agreed way to do or to produce a product enhance consumer protection and confidence.